Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to this class on making your own Valentines in TinkerCAD. It's not going to be as long as the other videos that I've put out, but you're going to learn during this tutorial 3 different ways of creating Valentines. So there's going to be 3 exercises and you're going to be using existing shapes in TinkerCAD to create those. So I hope you enjoy and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks. So the first thing you'll want to do if you don't have a TinkerCAD account is to go to tinkercad.com. You're going to want to go to join now and click create personal account. It's going to ask us for some information. I would recommend having your parents sit with you and fill that stuff out just to kind of streamline the process. Once you've done that, you can sign into your account. So I'm going to sign into mine right now. Click sign in. And I set one up for the library's makerspace that I use. So I'm going to click next, click sign in. And if you've never used TinkerCAD before, you'll notice this interface. This is where all of the designs that you make are created. And what you're going to want to do is click on Create New Design. This is kind of the Valentines that I've worked on before. You can kind of see them. I'm going to click on Tinker This. And you'll see these are the Valentines that we're going to create here in this class that I worked on throughout earlier this month. So yeah, we're going to first create this Valentine. The second one is this one, and then the final one is this one. And with this one, I use the scribble tool to create the actual design itself. With this Valentine, we used different shapes to combine them into a heart tool. And then with this, I actually took an existing heart shape as part of TinkerCAD's shape library. So now I'm going to get back out of this. What you can do is click on TinkerCAD dashboard up here, and that'll take you back to your designs area. So it's saving my work. It takes a second depending on your internet connection. What I want to do is now create new design. And if you've never seen TinkerCAD before, this is the interface. Like I had mentioned in the first part of this video, I do really recommend checking out the video that we did on making Christmas ornaments, just because I go through all the tools. I'm going to briefly go over them really quickly, but I'm not going to go into too much detail because I really want to just get into modeling today since I covered the interface in previous videos. So as you can see, this is the work plane. This is where you're going to drag existing shapes that are part of TinkerCAD's shape library, such as this box. You're going to put it over the work plane, and this is where you can resize things and add different shapes together, etc. Over here, this is basically like your view area. If you click this, that takes you to a home view. This is a view cube where you can click around. It's going to change your view. This is a zoom in, zoom out button. This is a fit view to selected shapes. So that's basically like zooms into the shapes that you've put on the work plane. Then up here, we've got our file options. So you've got a copy tool for copying different objects. You've got a pasting tool. You've got a duplicate and repeat tool, which we'll use a lot today, as well as a trash or delete tool. And then you've got your undo and redo tools there. Briefly up here, you're going to use this tool a lot, which is, if you highlight these two objects, the group tool, which groups your objects together. Once you do that, you'll have the option to also ungroup them. And then we're going to use the align tool as well as the mirroring tool. The align tool is used for aligning shapes up together on certain parts of the plane, just depending on where your shapes are located at. So we'll go over that more as we start modeling. And then kind of the other thing to note before we move on to modeling is you're going to want to, once you're happy with the Valentines that you make, you're going to want to use the export tool. Click on export right there and choose the STL file format as the file type to email me. And I'll give you that information to email me if you want these 3D printed. I'll have it at the end of the video. but the STL file format is the one that our 3D printers take. So that's what you want to export out before you email it to me to then have me 3D print it for you. So I just deleted those objects that were on the work plane. So now we're going to get into the modeling aspect of this, creating a heart with a like array or circle of hearts around it, and then some letters in the middle, either initials of someone that you care about or a saying or whatever you'd like to put in there. First, what we want to do is grab a cylinder, move it over to the work plane. We're going to change the size of it to 30 millimeters this way by 30 this way. So I'm going to click on that, type 30. I can click the tab key on my keyboard to go up to that area right there to type in 30. So now it's 30 millimeters this way by 30 millimeters going that way. Now what I want to do is actually make the height of this a little bit smaller, since it doesn't need to be too high to be 3D printed. We want it to be a little bit slimmer. So I'm going to click this. Right now this is at 20 millimeters. I'm going to click that and turn it into 5 millimeters. Okay, so after that, what I want to do is create a copy of this. And I'm going to change my view to the top view right now of the work plane to make a copy of this, just to make it easier to kind of line the copy up with this. So I'm going to use this tool, duplicate and repeat. So I'll click that. So it's made a copy of that, but it's actually like sitting inside this existing object. So now what we want to do is I want to take this copy that I made and basically have them kind of meet in the middle to where it looks like it's going to be making the sort of the top shape of a heart, as you can see. So that looks pretty good to me. That should work right there. So now what I want to do is go back to this home view, click that, and then I'm going to grab a box to make the bottom part of the heart. So what I want to do is change the size of the box, the height of it down to 5 millimeters. And then I'm going to see how it looks changing the size of it, going this way and going that way to the same as I did for these cylinders. I'm going to change it to 30 millimeters, click on tab, and then type in 30. Now I want to change my view to the top view up here. Click on that, and I'm going to zoom in using my middle mouse scroll wheel button. And I'm going to, with the arrow keys on my keyboard, kind of move this over like that, kind of so it gets basically lined up with those two cylinders. And now what I want to do is I want to actually rotate the box to create the bottom part of the heart. So there's this rotation tool right there, and you can grab this, and it's going to rotate in increments of 22.5 degrees. What I want to do is rotate it to 45 degrees, and then I'm going to move this up here and merge it so it starts looking like the bottom of a heart. So we'll do that now. I'm going to use my up arrow key on my keyboard to merge it up with the object like that. And it looks like we're getting really close to it being looking like a heart. So let's move up a little bit more like that. And I like that. Yeah, that looks like that is merged with those two cylinders. And that looks like once we combine all of these, once we group them, that will turn into a heart shape, which is really cool that we're able to do that just using a copy of two cylinders as well as a box that were just flattened out to 5 millimeters in height. So what I want to do is I want to grab these now, and I'm going to click on the group tool button right there. Awesome. So now we have our heart shape. And that looks really cool. That should work. I mean, I could go back if I wanted to and adjust the box, move it down maybe a little bit so I don't have these little artifacts, but I'm fine with that today. This is simply, for me, it's just a fun little project that I'm going to do for someone that I care about in my life. And so it doesn't need to be perfect. So if you want to adjust the box that we merged with these two cylinders, you totally can, but I'm just going to leave it how it is for now. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this and I'm going to turn it, right now it's a solid, and what I'm going to do is actually change the color of it to more of a Valentine's color, which would be red. So click on that, and so we'll zoom out. I think what I'd like to do is increase the size of this. So right now it's 54 millimeters going this way by 48.21 going that way. I think I'll increase the size to 75 millimeters, and then I'm going to click tab, and I'm going to do 75 millimeters going that way, just to keep it nice and even. So now I'm going to take my left mouse button and move it over on the work plane like that. And now what I want to do is I'm going to use, we're going to get out of the basic shapes in TinkerCAD. We're going to click on that and we're going to move down to the shape generators, which is it's a really cool area of TinkerCAD. It just gives you a lot more options and shapes to use for your designs. So I'm going to click on all, and I'm going to go actually down to, there's several pages of this. I'm going to go over to page 14. So I'm going to kind of click through. I'm going to click on the 5th page, the 7th page, the 9th page, the 11th page, 13th page, and now we're at the 14th page. You click right there. And so we've got this tool. It's called Hearts Around an Object tool. So we'll grab this like that, put it on the work plane. Now you're going to have these options including number of hearts and the distance from the origin. And first what I want to do is actually I want to rotate this heart around so it's facing the same way as this one. So I'm going to click the rotation tool like that. I'm going to move it over so it sits like that. So going 180 degrees from where it was. So now we're going to go over here and we're actually going to change these values to make it turn into a circle basically of hearts that's going to go on top of this heart that we created. So what I want to do is I want to change the number of hearts from 1. I want to type in, just to add a 0 and turn it into 10. So the number of hearts to 10. Now I'm going to click down to the distance from origin. I'm going to click that and turn that from 20. I'm going to type in 25 and hit enter. And so now these are like nicely evenly spaced out hearts in a circle, and they don't really overlap with each other, which is exactly what we want for the next part of our design. So before we align these with this on top of this heart, I'm going to change the color of these. So from this blue to a nice shade of red. I'm going to click right here to this darker red. And then what I'm going to do is I want to use the align tool to align this up with this object. So I'm going to highlight these both, click the align tool up here. Now I want to align them. If I click the heart now, I want to align these to the heart. So now it's aligning them going that way. I want to click right there to align them this way. And so I've noticed that, this circle is much bigger, it overlaps outside of this heart. So I'm going to increase the size of the heart again, this larger heart. I'm going to increase it from 75 to 100 on each side. So I'm going to type in 100, click the tab button on my keyboard, and then type in 100 again. And now we can fully align these to this, and these should all fit onto it. So I'm going to highlight both objects again, click on the align tool, and now I want to align them up like this in the middle, like that, and then going this way. So now they're nicely aligned. If we click the top button up here to change our view to the top view of this, we can actually see they are nicely aligned to this object. And I think what I might do is I'm just going to click on these hearts and just move them up just a little bit more for personal taste to make them kind of look even nicer, more symmetrical. So what I'm actually going to do is I don't want to have these hearts be coming up from this larger heart object. I actually want them to cut into this heart. So what we can do is turn these this circle of hearts from a solid into a hole. So if you have these highlighted, you just click on hole right there. And as you can see, once I group these to this, it's actually going to cut through this heart itself and make kind of an imprint, I guess you could say, onto the heart itself. But I don't want it to cut all the way through this larger heart. And as you can see, if we did that, if we merged these like that, it would do that. It would make these hearts cutting through it. I mean, if you'd like to do that, that's totally fine. I'm not going to do that for how I'm designing this. So what I want to do is I want to grab this little cone tool right here, which moves your hearts up and down. I'm just going to move them inward just ever so slightly into this object. And as you can see, they're not cutting through the bottom of the heart. So I'm going to zoom back out using my middle scroll wheel, click out here, and then I'm going to click and highlight them both these objects. I'm going to click on group. So as you can see now, if you kind of change your view, and you can do that using your right mouse button to pan around, you can actually see that there is depth to this model that's been, these hearts have cut into this larger heart at a certain depth. And I like that. It's going to look really cool 3D printed. It's going to have like a basically like an imprinted look to it. And it looks really cool on 3D printed objects. So now what I want to do is I want to personalize this Valentine for the person that I'm going to give it to. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use a text tool to add text to this area of the Valentine itself. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change my view back to the home view, clicking on that home view button right there. I'm going to go from the shape generators over here, click that, and I go back up to the basic shapes area in TinkerCAD. Now I'm going to zoom down or scroll down, and then I'm going to use this text tool right here. I'm going to grab the text tool and move it over to the work plane. And as you can see, you've got different fonts that you can use. And you can play around seeing what those look like that. I might use the serif font. I like how that looks. I'm going to change the height again to 5 millimeters instead of 10. So I'm going to go up here to the height and just type in 5. I'm going to change the text. For this Valentine, I'm going to give it to my wife. Her name is Kate, so I'm going to use her initials, and it is KN. Now what I'm going to do is go back up to my top view up here. I'm going to click the top view like that. Now I'm going to use the arrows on my keyboard to arrow up on the work plane, and then the left arrow to move it over like this onto the model itself. It looks like I need to resize that, so I'm going to click the shift button on my keyboard and then grab this. And when you click shift and click on one of these boxes, that's actually going to change the size of your model proportionately. So it's going to keep the proportions of it going this way and that way. And actually, I just noticed doing that, it moved the model into this larger model itself. So I'm going to grab this cone tool, bring it back up like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change the color of this as I'm trying to align it. So I'm going to click up here to solid, and then I'm going to change it to this, I guess, a darker blue color. Click my top view button again up here. I'm going to use my middle scrolling mouse button to kind of pan over slightly. Now I want to use the align tool again to align the letters up nicely to the middle of this. I'll highlight all of these. Click the align tool, and if I click this right there, that should align the letters to the middle of this. If I click that, it's actually aligning it down a little bit. So I kind of liked how it looked before, so I'm going to go undo. You can also type Control-Z on your keyboard, undo button, and just keep it like that. So as you can see now, these letters are merging into this model. And what you can do if you want is you can turn this into a hole instead of a solid object by clicking on hole. And as you can see, what it's going to do is actually the same thing we did with this circle of hearts. It's going to actually cut into the model itself. And if you move it down like that, you can actually set it up so it will, if you do want that effect of cutting through a larger object, you can do that. So I'm not going to do that though, so I'm going to grab, if you can see it, that little cone tool, move this up in space just a little bit, and I'm actually going to turn it back into a solid. I would like to have that effect of having this popping up from this larger model and then these hearts cutting into this model. So what I'm going to do is then I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to highlight this object and I'm going to click on group. So now these letters are grouped with this whole object, and this should 3D print really easily. I don't actually think it would take very much time to 3D print as well, and I'll show you examples of these prints at the end of the video. So you could print this out and then give it to a friend or your mom or dad if you want, or say if you wanted to make your friend or family member a necklace, what you can do then is we can just add a little circular hole at the top of this heart if you want to add it to something like a necklace. So what we'll do is grab the tube tool, move this over like this. We're going to change our view again. I'm going to use my right mouse button to basically pan back like that. I'm going to click on this box to change the height of it. I want to change it so it's the same height as this. Oh, and it looks like the height of this got changed. So I'm going to actually change the height of this whole object to just 5 millimeters. So I'm going to, from 7.04, I'm going to type in 5, hit enter. And now I'm going to click on this and do the same thing. That's the height option right there. I'm going to change that to 5 millimeters in height as well. Go back up. I'm going to click on my home view and then the top view right there. And basically what I want to do is have this circular tube shape merge in with this to make it hangable as either an ornament or if you want to make a necklace, what have you. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit and let's see. I'm going to try to align this a little bit better so it looks more aligned to this. So I'm going to highlight these both, click up on the align tool right there. I'm going to align this to the middle of that. So that looks much better. I'm going to zoom in. Whoops. Click outside anywhere like that to get out of the align tool. I'm going to click on this again, and I'm just going to use my bottom arrow key on my keyboard to move it in a little bit more. But first what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my snap grid to 0.5 millimeters. It's basically you'll just have a little bit more finite movement when you change your snap grid, as you can kind of see. I'm going to move it down just like that, and don't quite want it to move closer to this heart. So I'm actually going to change my snap grid down to 0.1 millimeters. And if we use our bottom arrow key on our keyboard and just tap it, you can actually see that the movements are now, your object is moving at 0.1 millimeter increments. So it just gives you a little bit finer control of your movements of objects in TinkerCAD. And now I'm going to combine these two together. I'm going to combine this tube with this. Click on that. It should be merged to one object itself. So you'll see that there is kind of an effect where this tube is kind of jutting out like that. You can change that if you'd like. If you don't like that effect, we can click on undo, and all we got to simply do is change the size, the height of this to be smaller. So we can change it to half of that. We can click on this and go 2.5 millimeters, hit enter. So now it's not going to be jutting upwards like that. So we'll move back like that. We'll highlight this, group it. So yeah, that is how to create your first Valentine in TinkerCAD using existing basic shapes, grabbing some other shape tools in TinkerCAD, and combining them with your bigger heart, and then adding some text to it. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. So for the next Valentine that we're going to make, we're actually going to take the heart shape found under basic shapes. We scroll down, grab this heart shape, move it over on the plane like this, and what we're going to do is create a Valentine from it, this existing shape. So I'm going to change the size of it to, again, 75 millimeters by 75, starting out. Type in 75, hit the tab button, 75 again. So now it's 75 millimeters by 75 millimeters. And now what I want to do is I want to change the height of it as well. So right now it's at 10 millimeters. I'm going to change it to 5. I'm clicking on that, and I'm going to type 5 and hit enter. So now I want to change my view up to the top view right here. And I'm actually going to use this tool right here to change my perspective, out of perspective view to what's called flat view. This is really good for when you want to line objects up and look at them straight down and flat. So I'm going to click on this, and as you can see, your view is now more straight on flat. So now what I want to do is I want to create a copy of this. I'm going to use the duplicate and repeat tool. And what I'm going to do is just move the copy of it out a little bit. And now I want to change, I noticed I want to change my snap grid back out to 1 millimeter. So once I do that, I can move this and it's going to be a bit quicker. So now I want to change the size of this second heart to 50 millimeters by 50 millimeters. And I want to change this from a solid to a hole, like that. And now I want to align this to the middle of this heart. That looks pretty good right now, but I'm going to see if the align tool will help me with that a little bit better. I'm going to highlight these both, go to the align tool, click like that to align it going that way, click like that to align it going like that. And I like that. That should work for my purposes. So I'm just going to check. I'm going to use my right mouse button to scroll down like that. And it does look like, yeah, that's going to cut through the bottom of this heart. So that looks good. So now what I want to do is I'm going to highlight both of these objects. I'm going to click on the group tool. So now you can see they're grouped, and I've got the smaller heart shape that cut through this larger heart shape. Now I'm going to change my view back to perspective, clicking like that. And what I want to do now is I want to add some text to this to go basically left to right over this. It's going to be a pretty cool effect once we get it set up and 3D printed. So what I'm going to do, instead of using the basic text tool from here, I'm going to click up here, go back to the shape generators area, click on all. Sometimes it takes a second. I want to go to, looks like the second page, and I want to choose the, looks like the script text tool. And you can tell that you do definitely have different more fonts to use. So this font is called script text. You click on this again, you'll have the option to do all of these different kinds of fonts. That, or like that. I'm going to see what this Lucinda calligraphy italic looks like. That's pretty interesting looking. I think I might actually just stick with the script text right there as the font. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the text to say, instead of text, I'm going to say, love you, just like that. And if we change our view up and kind of zoom in, what's cool is you can see that all of these letters are connected like that, except for, the phrase love you. Those aren't connected as one word, but this word is connected and that word's connected. Each of these letters is connected. And that's really good because with 3D printing, you wouldn't want to have this print out with each of these letters not connected because it just wouldn't print correctly. You'd have all of these letters printing separately and it just wouldn't fuse to your model. So we'll go with the script tool for today. I'm going to change the color of it though from a solid, or stay in the solid, but I'm going to change it from that kind of yellow brown to red. I'm going to zoom out. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the height from 10 millimeters, and you can change it there, or I can change it by clicking this. Right there, I'm going to change it to 7.5 millimeters. I'm going to zoom out, and what I want to do is align this to across this heart. I'm going to highlight these both, click the Align tool. So I'm click it going that way, so it's aligning on that plane. And if I click this heart, it's going to line this up with the heart like that. So we'll click that and see what that looks like. And it gives you that preview, as you can see. So that works. I'm going to change my view to the top view again. And then I'm going to click just out to the side to get out of the Align tool. Now I'm going to take a look at this and see how this looks. Yeah, I like this. This looks pretty cool. This should really easily 3D print as well. Especially because the text is all connected right there. So this will all, once it gets 3D printed, it will print all as one object. So these letters will not, fall off of your print as it's printing or after it's printing, and you give it to someone. It should all print and fuse as one object. So before we move on to the next one, the next step that I had forgotten is we want to group this text to this so they get fused together. So I'm going to highlight these both, click on group, and now they're all grouped as one object. And you know what you could do if you wanted the text to move up a little bit more from this heart, you can go undo and just change that by clicking on this text and using this tool right there, that cone tool, and just kind of pushing it up like that in space. What that's going to do though when you 3D print it is you're going to have to have support material underneath this as it's printing, which is fine. It's just some removable extra plastic that gets added to your prints whenever there's they call them overhanging angles, such as this. So you can design your Valentine like this. It's just when it's printed, it just is going to need some of that support. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have this just sit and lay flat. And one other cool trick to get your objects to sit flat on the work plane in TinkerCAD is just to make sure they're highlighted, and if you press the D button on your keyboard, that will actually make them sit flat on the work plane. So I'm going to zoom out, highlight these again to group them, and there we go, they're grouped. So much like this Valentine as well, if you want to actually have this be hangable, what you can do is we can add a little circular object to the top of that and group it to this in order to make it hangable, say for a necklace or, I don't know, keychain or whatever. If you just want it to be hangable, we'll need to add that. So what we're going to do that is click on up here to the basic shapes. And now we're going to switch it up from using the tube tool to the torus tool. So I'm going to grab this, move it over like that to the work plane, zoom in. I'm going to change it to the same height as this object, which, if you remember, so this is 7.5 millimeters. This should be 5 millimeters. We can actually just have this torus tool be 5 millimeters, which it is. So what we're going to do is zoom back out. We're going to use the bottom arrow on our keyboard to move it down like this and fuse it with this object. Just like so. I'm going to choose my top tool right there, my view tool, like that. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And it looks a little uneven, So I think what I'll do is I'm going to highlight these, use the Align tool again, just make sure this is nicely aligned with this. Click on that, it just aligned it so it looks a little bit nicer. So now what I'm going to do is grab this and just push it down into this existing object like that. And I think what I want to do is I want to make this little circular thing a little bit bigger, so I'm going to change the size of it from 20 millimeters that way and 20 that way to 25. Click on Tab, to 25. And it looks like this needs to get realigned again. So I'm going to zoom out, click on the Align tool again, and just click on that to align it to the middle of this. So as you can see, once this is 3D printed, this circular torus object will fuse with this love you. And if you didn't like that effect right there, I would recommend trying to make the circle or adding the circular part on top of this, either with the tube tool or going to the ring tool right there. I tried a couple different times to change how this would look, and I found that I think because of the way the torus looks, it's just going to do that. So I'm fine with the way it looks, but if you don't want the part of the torus like that on your model, I would recommend then just switching it up to using either the tube tool or the ring tool on top of this. So there you have it. There is that. We'll zoom back out. I'm going to fuse the torus with this. And that is yet another Valentine that we can 3D print out and give to a friend or a family member or that special someone. So thank you for watching this second tutorial, and I'll see you on the last video. All right, for this final exercise, we're going to be using the scribble tool, the duplicate and repeat tool, and the mirror tool to create a heart, which will then add text on top of. So what we want to do first is grab the scribble tool, drag it over to the work plane, and you'll see the view gets changed to this scribble view, and this is where we can make our scribbles, or in our case, we're going to make one side of a heart. So I'm going to use this as kind of the anchor point, grab that with my mouse button, move up like that, kind of that sort of sweeping motion like a heart. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fill out this side of the heart too, so it's nice. It'll be nice and symmetrical when we try to mirror it. So I'm going to click my left mouse button again, just kind of move upwards. This is probably easier if you have like an iPad. It will be easy to use one of those iPad what do they call them, pen tools to do this. I'm just using my mouse, and it's a bit difficult, but it works. So fill this in, and I'm going to pause the video while I finish doing this. All right, so I've created the one side of my heart. We're going to take a look and see how we can mirror this and how it's going to look once we do that. So I'm done right here, so I'm just going to click done, and we're going to zoom out and go to the top view right now. So now we'll use the duplicate and repeat tool to make a copy of this. Click here, duplicate and repeat. So the duplicated part is actually still within this object. What we're going to do now is we're going to click the mirror tool up here, and we want to mirror this. It'll actually show you how you can mirror it. So if you going like that, it would mirror it like that, that's what we're going to do. If you were to choose that, it would just mirror it like that. And then if you choose that option, it would mirror that object like that. So we're going to choose this. We're going to click right there. So it made a mirror of that object. Click outside right there. I'm going to go back to my top view, click on this object, and I'm going to move it over and basically make it so it meets in the middle. I'm just eyeballing it since this is a scribble. I'm kind of eyeballing where they meet and kind of where it looks best in terms of like heart. So I might even move this in just a little bit. I might change my snap grid, I think, to 0.1 millimeters. I'm going to zoom in and then just move it in ever so slightly and kind of see where it fuses together and starts to look more like a heart shape. Now that's overlapping to that side, so it's not going to work like that. So move like that. Well, that works for me, and like I'd said with the previous models we made, nothing has to look perfect, especially with this using the scribble tool. It's not about it looking perfect, it's just more of kind of customizing it to the way that you like it. And with the scribble tool, especially if you're using a mouse, it can be hard to get like fine shapes unless you're using like a pen stylus tool on an iPad. So don't sweat the details. For me, this looks good enough. That is the shape of a heart. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to highlight these both, click on combine, and see what they look like combined. And that looks great. And that's, that is a heart that I made myself from the scribble tool. So it's a uniquely shaped heart that you wouldn't be able to make through the other methods of creating the Valentines up here. So it's definitely a unique heart shape that now we can work with. So going along with the Valentine's theme, I'm going to change it from this slight blue to a red color. And then I'm going to change the size of it, or the height, I should say, from 10 millimeters down to 5. Click there and type in 5. And now I want to add some text onto this heart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the all shape generators area of TinkerCAD again. So click over here, down to all shape generators. Click on that. I'm going to go down again to page 2. And then I'm going to choose, let's see, the script text tool again. To grab that, move it over like that. And I'm actually going to change the font from being script, and I'm going to change it to the Lucinda Calligraphy Italic text. I really like that. It kind of has a Valentine's sort of feel to it. And so now what I'm going to do is change the size of it. I'm going to change it to, let's see, I'll do 5 millimeters height on that. And now what I want to do where it says text right there, well, you can kind of see it. Click on that. It's a bit obscured, but if you click in that little box right there, this is where you can type in your text. So I'm going to dedicate this Valentine to my mother. So I'm going to write mom, M-O-M. Okay, so now I want to align this text to this. And I'm probably going to have to resize this as well. So I'm going to first resize the text. I'm going to click Shift on my keyboard, click on that box right there, just make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to move this over a little bit like that. I'm going to move it up in space just a little bit as well. Grab that little cone tool like that. So now what I want to do is I want to highlight these both and then align them. Align this text to that heart. Go up to the Align tool. I'm going to align it like that, and then I'm going to click on the heart and then have this mom text align to the middle right there. So if I click that, you can actually see the preview of what that's going to look like. Click right there. So as we can see, it's still a little too big for the heart itself. So I'm going to change the size of the text. I'm going to click outside right there to get out of the Align tool. Click on the mom text. Click Shift on my keyboard and grab that box, and then just move it down ever so slightly. And then use my right arrow on my keyboard to move it in like this. And I might need to make it a little bit smaller, so I'm going to do Shift again, click on that text, just like that. So now I'm going to realign it again. So I'm going to highlight these both, click the Align tool, click right there, and then click right there, and that should align it to the middle of the heart. And it does look a little wonky because, this was a scribble heart that we made. So I'm actually going to just use my arrow tool, my up arrow to just adjust it to taste. for how it would look. I'm just going to use that to move it up like that. All right, and so now what I want to do is I'm going to turn this text from a solid to a hole. So I'll click on hole, and I actually want that text to cut in again, like over here with the hearts. I want the text to cut into this heart. So I'm going to grab that little cone shape right there. So move this in just ever so slightly like that. Zoom out, click on the side like that, highlight both of these, click the group tool right here, and now this text is grouped with this heart, and it should have once it 3D prints, you're going to have a like inset text that says mom, or you could say dad, or a friend of yours, whoever you want to give this to, and that will be a personalized heart that you can give them, Valentine, that can be 3D printed. Let's say we want to, make this like a fit on a keychain or on a necklace. We simply go back over to basic shapes. This time, let's choose the ring tool. We'll grab that, move this over here. The ring tool is actually pretty big, and you can actually change parameters of it over here. But I'm just going to keep it kind of looking like a normal ring. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the size of it to, let's see, what is this at? Oh, that's 5 millimeters and that's 5. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out and just merge this with the this Valentine right there. I'm going to use my down arrow key on my keyboard, and I can take my snap grid off. I'll take it up to 0.5 millimeters, so moving this is just a little bit quicker. It goes in higher increments. I'm going to zoom out, go to the top tool, going to try to align that ring to this. Click the align tool, align it like that, and that works for me. So I'm going to now highlight these both, group them, and now these should be a fully 3D printable little ornament kind of trinket thing that you can give to a friend or your mom or your dad, and they can put it, hang it up somewhere, put it on a necklace, put it on a keychain, what have you. So if you want to do that to any of these Valentines, like we'd gone over before, you could use either the torus shape, the tube shape, or the ring shape. You just want to make sure that when you're combining it to the object, that it is fully kind of pushed into the larger object, so that when you group it together, that it fuses as one, and then it will 3D print as one object. So there you have it. That's 3 ornaments for Valentine's Day, or that you can make to give to your friends or your family. So on the next part of the video, the last part, I will show you examples of these that have been 3D printed. So see you then. All right, so for the last part of this video, I wanted to show you guys how the models that we created turned out. So I hope it was fun for you to watch and that you learned something new about TinkerCAD. So for the first one, the heart with the heart shapes that we cut into and that we put text in the middle of, that actually turned out really, really well. As you can see, I used this red filament that's sparkly. So it's very Valentine's Day-like. So that turned out really well. Here's the Love You model that we created. That turned out really well too and printed really easily. And then for the last one that we use the scribble tool for, I probably should have printed it a little bit bigger, but it turned out pretty well. I also could have inset the text a little bit more on that one. So if you'd like me to 3D print any of the models that you created during the class today, I'm going to put my information to the side of my head in this video, and you can email me the model files that you created. You just want to make sure to choose the export function in TinkerCAD and choose the STL file type. And then you can email me those and let me know what color you want your models printed in. We just charge 5 cents per gram of plastic, and generally most prints are a couple dollars or so. I would say this one, I didn't actually weigh it out, but this would probably be about 50 cents to $1 or so. So yeah, feel free to reach out if you'd like me to print these models for you, and we can set it up for you to pick them up during our curbside service. So thanks again for watching, and I will catch you next time.